Hello and welcome to the Market Advantage podcast, talking about DraftKings and FanDuel for NBA tonight. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. Talking about some guys with big price differences as well as some of our favorite plays. Starting off with a guy I know you're a huge fan of on DraftKings, and I'm on board as well. Big price difference, Jeff Teague, $6,500 on DraftKings, $74 on FanDuel, so almost $1,000 difference there. And facing off against a New Orleans team that is allowing a ton of fantasy points to opposing point guards. And Teague, really in the toughest matchup he had this season, had his best game, 26, 9, and 6 against Miami. We know he has big-time upside. Really the only downside for him is minutes, but, I mean, there was some concern with his sprained finger, but, I mean, Jeff Teague's a guy that could put up double-double numbers easily, and especially in a matchup like this, there's really just no one to defend him as far as that backcourt goes.
Yeah, and I'm also looking at Paul Millsap. Going to see a ton of Anthony Davis, so you should see Teague, get more shots off just due to that matchup down there, because I'm sure they won't be attacking it too much. And I love Teague's price on DK there. I mean, yeah, the minutes are a bit of an issue because he could go for 28 minutes, which is possible, but at that price, he'll still easily come across as a pretty solid play.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Another guy who is in a good matchup that. This is more of a GPP play, but he's got a big difference in his two prices. $6,600 on FanDuel, $55 on DraftKings. Jordan Clarkson coming off of an incredible game last time out against Denver. 30 points, not a lot of peripheral statistics, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, but 40.75 on DraftKings. I like him a lot more on DraftKings than FanDuel with that price. I'll throw him in some GPPs. Obviously, Brooklyn, Jarrett Jack and company, not very good defenders. Really not a lot of good defenders on either side in this game. So this game, sneaky high-scoring upside. And Jordan Clarkson, as we saw, I mean, he was getting to the rim. He was hitting jumpers. I mean, this is a very good offensive player. It's just the other areas of his game that you worry about.
Yeah, I think this game I'm actually looking at for a couple of value plays. And Clarkson's definitely one of them, just because that total is high. I mean, none of the guys in here are extremely high priced at all. So I think both teams are probably closing at 100 points tonight if the shots are falling and Kobe's not taking 40 shots. But should be fine.
Yeah, and the other one, speaking of the same game, Julius Randle, 5,700 on FanDuel, 6,400 on DraftKings. So a little bit of the opposite there. Get him a little cheaper on FanDuel. Got to imagine his ownership in cash game is going to be pretty high tonight. Last 2 games, had that huge game against Dallas, of course. Was good against Denver. I mean, not spectacular, but in 32 minutes ended up with 28 DraftKings points. So FanDuel-wise, a guy that I'm locking in easily. On DraftKings, I don't think he's quite as good of a play, but definitely a guy I'll still have some exposure to, though.
Yeah, and if you think looking at that Denver game, I think we just had such high expectations because it's Denver and coming off that big game, but still not bad.
Yeah, absolutely. That was that was the same game that Clarkson went off. So there was less scoring needed, and Denver just exploded in that third quarter too. It was that pretty bad defensive effort by the Lakers there. All 4 of them, and then Kobe Bryant, who doesn't really play defense at all anymore. Although Danilo Gallinari did call him out and then didn't get him. I don't know if it was really a foul, but either way, Kobe. That time has come, so let's go ahead and move on from him. Brook Lopez, another guy from that same game, actually with a big discount, $7,900 on FanDuel is pretty pricey, right? Almost the exact same price as Hassan Whiteside there, but $6,800 on DraftKings is a nice little discount for him. A guy with some big upside there, coming off a huge game, and this is a Lakers team that, I mean, they've got Roy Hibbert down low, who's an okay defender, but he's slow and he's not athletic, and Brook Lopez can stretch the floor, and he's not slow or unathletic like Roy Hibbert is.
Yeah, I love Brook Lopez tonight, more so on DK with that price difference there. Pretty solid floor, and I think tonight's a night where you want to roll 2 centers, in my opinion. And Brook Lopez is probably going to be one of them just because he's only 6,800.
Yeah, this guy who we got an upcoming back-to-back today, tomorrow. Kevin McHale said that Howard might sit out one of them. Obviously, this is the tournament-only play, but if we're talking about discounts, $8,300 on FanDuel is a definite no thanks for me, especially with the uncertain minutes, but $7,100 on DraftKings. I'll throw Dwight Howard in a couple tournaments. Last game out, 10 for 10 from the field, 23 and 14 against Orlando. 2 assists, no blocks or steals. I mean, you obviously like Dwight Howard's block upside generally. Had 4 blocks in the game before that. But, I mean, if he goes, there's no DeMarcus Cousins down low here. So this is a guy that should feast down low, assuming that he's a go and he's going to get his full complement of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, for just 7,100, I mean, like I said, a night where you could easily roster two centers and get big time upside from both of them. And looking at Lopez and Howard there, I did say I'd probably never play Dwight Howard again, and look what he does. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll backtrack a little bit on that one. I was being a bit dramatic.
We'll have to pick our spots with Howard, certainly, because we know that if he's not getting his full complement of minutes, it's a definite no thanks. But this is a great matchup for him here. Bradley Beal, not a great matchup, but a nice price discount, 7,400 on FanDuel, 66 on DraftKings. You and I were talking about it earlier about how Bradley Beal has turned into so far this season, it's only been 4 games, but a more complete player at times. Still had a couple of those performances, like his first one, 24 points, 6 rebounds. Then he had a 26 with 4 rebounds, no assists in either one of those games. But his last game, great all-around performance in a tough matchup, 25, 5, and 4 with 3 steals against the Spurs. When we've seen him taking a ton of shots, 45 shots taken in his last 2 games. So if you're looking for a tournament guy, it is a tough individual matchup here against Avery Bradley, but he's the guy that, he can put up points in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, he's shooting 47% from the field, and he's logging big minutes too, which has always been an issue in the past because he's been injured. But I mean, 36 and 37 minutes in the last 2 games, 38 in the first game against Orlando. I mean, shooting guard, not a ton of price discrepancies, and really the big 2 are in this game because Avery Bradley's the other one, 5,800 on FanDuel and just 4,400 on DraftKings. And looking at his recent games, he hasn't been too bad. He's also been shooting the ball better than his previous couple years here.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his on DraftKings, and I think he's even borderline cash game play at that price with his minutes. So, either one. Type in Bradley. You get 2 values there on DraftKings. Another guy, Alfred Payton, 6,700 on FanDuel, 6,000 on DraftKings. It's a guy matching up with Kyle Lowry. It's not a phenomenal matchup for him, and he really hasn't shown much upside, nor has he played a lot of minutes on his last 3 games. First 2 games, 35 and 37 minutes. Last 3, 22, 29, 29. This is more of a pointing out the price discrepancy. Payton's not really a guy that I'm targeting tonight.
No, I'm with you there. I mean, just because his shot's been not falling. The assist numbers have been there in the last 2 games, but I think we could look at a guy like TJ McConnell to get those types of numbers tonight, if anything.
Yeah, and Payton, I mean, he's a guy that is he's not scoring reliant, but that's also because he's not a good scorer. I mean, not even a decent scorer really at this stage in his career. But I mean, he's young, plenty of time to work on that. Another guy, Chris Bosh, $7,900 on FanDuel, $6,900 on DraftKings, facing off against Indiana, who they've looked terrible down low. Chris Bosh's DraftKings picture, though, kind of freaks me out. It's like a half and half jersey, and I'm not sure what's going on there, but $1,000 cheaper. He's a guy who first couple games didn't look great, but last 2 games has been impressive. 26 rebounds last 2 games. Now facing a team that's really, really struggles at rebounding the ball down low. Bosh is the guy who's been a good rebounder, not a great rebounder throughout his career, but there's certainly potential for him to put up a big-time stat line against this front court tonight.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. I think, looking at the Heat big men, you got to like their chances of a big game. Indy, negative 6.2 rebound differential. They're allowing 14 offensive rebounds per game. That's just huge. So, I mean, while Bosh isn't, a big block for steal guys, if he can put up a number like last night where he goes 16 and 12 with not much else, that's pretty huge at 6,900.
Yeah. One more guy who is a absolute no play for me on FanDuel, but a decent discount on DraftKings, and that's Carmelo Anthony. It's a tough matchup here, but this is a guy that does take a ton of shots. He has 43 or more DraftKings points in 3 of his 4 games, including 54 against Washington in a tough matchup. So, as we know, Carmelo, you're not playing him for his defense. Obviously, he's not a big fan of playing a lot of defense anyway, but, I mean, he's got rebound upside. He's obviously got scoring upside, 37 real points in that Washington game, at least 7 rebounds in each of his last 4 games, with 12 in this last one. So a guy that not a lot of people play because he's priced up near above Paul George and Rudy Gay. Not a lot of a discount between him and LeBron James. So if you want to throw him in a tournament, I don't blame you there. But on FanDuel, there's no way I'm paying almost $10K for him.
No, I'm with you there. Not a big Melo fan, but I mean, I guess on DK it makes kind of sense to throw in a tournament with, his ceiling and playing minutes. He's actually healthy, so 37 minutes, 35 in the last couple games there, and 8,400, not a bad price at it's not a weak small forward spot, but I mean, there's not no one that really stands out as a tremendous play.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully we helped you out with some pricing differences. We've also got the Minutes to Win It podcast talking about some minutes and some other of our favorite plays here and values. So make sure you check that out. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and find out the rest of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.